actually some active process of digging into it.
And how did you arrive after that initial assessment that your colleague made? What kinds of things did you do to try to rule out all those other possibilities?
What we were able to do was to look at the tooth from a variety of perspectives, literally, including a very high power magnification with scanning electron microscopy. But we were also able to use techniques like micro CT, reconstructing a three-dimensional view of that tooth without damaging it at all. Whatever was going on with this tooth, it was more than just a natural geological process.
And were you and your colleagues able to get any idea of what this Neanderthal was suffering from? What was causing them pain or distress in that tooth?
Severe infection. I mean, the tooth was, for all intents and purposes, the same as if you or I had a badly infected lower second molar. And what clued us into this being problematical for that individual was precisely that they had done something to try and alleviate the pain.
And so they go to one of their neighbors, maybe the local, what we call a dentist, but how did they do this procedure? What's your sense of that?
That's a good question. There are two primary possibilities. The one that I cleave to is that this person was in such pain that they reached out to someone else and said, I need help. And that person, although presumably was not some sort of specialized dentist, may have been a specialized medical practitioner, which we know from evidence from all over the Neanderthal world that the Neanderthals were fascinated with, and to some extent adept with, herbal medications and things like that. The second possibility, of course, which I don't think is very likely, is that this was a self-help process, that whoever had this infected tooth picked up a stone drill, without any mirrors, reached into their mouth and dug around until they felt better. That's possible, of course, and we have no scientific way of separating those two possibilities. But the more we know about Neanderthals, the more we know how social they were and how similar to us they were. So in the context that I wouldn't be digging around in my own mouth if I had a infected tooth, certainly I would be asking for additional input from someone else.
We have anesthesia and numbing agents. They did not. So I'm trying not to think too much about how excruciating this encounter would have been.
Yes, and that leads to another interesting aspect of the social dimension of things, which is communicating to this person, who is a full adult, by the way, we're not talking about a child. Hey, you know how badly that tooth hurts now? Well, I'm going to do something to it that's going to make it hurt even worse. But the good news is, it'll only hurt worse for maybe a half an hour or an hour. And after that, you're going to start feeling a lot better. How do you communicate that? I mean, that's a really complicated idea, given our stereotypical view of Neanderthals as brutish beasts who could barely grunt out, need food or something.
Right. Yeah, it's also, we don't know for sure. Maybe their pain tolerance by necessity was a bit better than most of ours.
Oh, I'm sure of that. I mean, Neil, the statistics are absolutely alarming. 80% of Neanderthals never saw their 40th birthday. And if you took all the bones and teeth of Neanderthal from all over Eurasia, put them out on a table and looked at them, something almost like 50% of those bones and teeth would show evidence of traumatic injury. These people were living in a very high-stress environment, and it was taking its toll.
Professor, I appreciate this. Thank you.
Oh, sure, absolutely. My pleasure.
John Olson is a professor emeritus of anthropology at the University of Arizona and a co-author on a new study of Neanderthal dentistry. He's in Tucson, Arizona. Well, you certainly have been on a train journey, all right. And now it's time to get off and go to the place you got on the train to go to. Do you, A, spend some time determining the most efficient route out of the station, or B, just follow whoever's in front of you, even though they may have no idea where they are or where they're going. Plus, they're wearing the same jacket as you, so at any moment someone can turn around and say, "Ha, look everybody, the jacket twins." You probably said that you would do A, but according to an elaborate new study, most of us would do B, demonstrating a heartwarming level of trust, or thoughtless gullibility. When I say the study was elaborate, I mean that the scientists analyzed the paths of about 100,000 passengers exiting trains at one station in the Netherlands. They monitored which door every one of those passengers used to exit and the order in which they exited, and something algorithm, and in the end, they found that we tend to follow the same path as the person in front of us, regardless of whether we know that person, and even if they take us on a longer route out of the station. As I said, this does not necessarily reflect well on us. Apparently, we just think, yeah, he looks like he knows where he's going. I can tell by the way he's in front of me. Not to mention, what about the person in the very front? What is she supposed to do? Just accept that she has to lead a conga line of zombie train passengers to safety on her own? It's a lot of pressure. This feels like an embarrassing study for us. And I think the lesson is as follows: stop following. Here's Monial with You Know the Way.
We're going to take a short break now. When we return, I'll ask Canada's Environment Minister if Ottawa's new climate and energy agreement with Alberta gives that province an unfair advantage.
And Tennessee's only Democratic majority black district has been carved up into 3 Republican-leaning districts. Now the Democratic congressman who served there for decades says he can't win, so he's dropping out of the race. But also some firefighters saved some ducklings. So that's nice. Hear that in a minute. Stay tuned. I'm Chris Howden.
And I'm Yinka Excel.
This is CBC Radio 1, 88.1 FM and 690 AM in Vancouver. Monday on
On the early edition, we'll ask the question, what is the role of the artist when it comes to climate change? We'll hear from the curator of a new major exhibition at the Vancouver Art Gallery called Future Geographies, Art in the Century of Climate Change. The exhibit features work from artists around the world, all of it focusing on the future of our planet. That's Monday, province-wide on the early edition, right here on CBC Radio 1.
The CBC News is next. Coming up in an hour, it's Ideas with Nala Ayed.
Take an idea, crack it open, and see how it's played out over place and time, and why it still matters today. In an age of superficial headlines, Ideas is an oasis for people who like to think. Ideas, radio for the mind.
From CBC News, the world is sour. I'm Neil Kumar. The Prime Minister and Alberta's Premier have signed an energy deal that sets a blistering timetable for new oil pipeline from Alberta to the West Coast. If all goes well, shovels could be in the ground by fall of next year. Kate McKenna has more.
And hello, today is a good day for Alberta, and it's a good day for Canada.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has called her deal with the federal government a grand bargain. Today it sounded like she thinks it's paying off.
Today we're turning a corner.
She and Prime Minister Mark Carney grinned while shaking hands before signing an updated agreement to build a pipeline carrying Alberta crude to the West Coast, with the goal of getting oil flowing as soon as 2033.
We've accomplished a lot in the last 6 months, and we've accomplished it together.
For today's announcement, Alberta will submit a plan by Canada Day. Ottawa is poised to help fast-track its approvals as soon as this October, with construction possibly starting in September of next year. All of this while the specter of separatism looms over Alberta.
It may not be the deciding factor for everyone, but it's going to, I believe, convince a few more people that Canada's worth fighting for and it's worth working towards.
Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Government and energy leaders are praising the agreement. They like that it brings economic certainty and instills confidence in Canada. But climate advocates in some Indigenous communities say it guts Canada's plan to tackle climate change. Julia Wong has those details.
A bit of a rollback, and quite a significant rollback in the
disappointment is clear in Jeanette Mackenzie's voice, the director of oil and gas at the Pembina Institute, a clean energy think tank, unimpressed with the deal on industrial carbon pricing, a lower price over a longer timeline.
That Canada's climate policy is no longer aligned with international climate commitments.
Mackenzie worries, with that new carbon pricing structure, companies may not want to invest as much in emissions reductions. Former energy executive Dennis McConaughey supports the new pricing plan. However, he has questions over the path forward for a pipeline to the West Coast, with construction possibly starting as early as September 2027.
Can they actually meet that deadline? And the ambiguities of the courts related to whatever outstanding stakeholders who are disgruntled by any approval.
He says it's unclear whether a private company will even step forward. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
At Rideau Hall today.
It is a pleasure and an honor to present you with this insignia today. One of my last opportunities to do so before the end of my mandate.
Mary Simon unveiled her final set of Order of Canada recipients. They include Ted Nolan, a former NHL player and coach from Sault Ste. Marie, Winnipeg-born Tina Keeper, who's an actor, former MP, and a member of Norway House Cree Nation, as well as Ottawa lawyer and author Maureen McTeer. Simon's term as Governor General ends on June 8th. That's when former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be sworn in as her successor. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court of Canada has expanded the list of damages that can be claimed by victims of intimate partner violence. It provides legal recognition that control, isolation, and intimidation are part of a pattern of abuse, and victims can now cite it when suing ex-partners. Billy Shannock has more.
It's not just one incident, that it's rather a pattern of domination.
Angela Marie McDougall is Executive Director of Battered Women's Support Services in Vancouver, British Columbia. She calls the Supreme Court of Canada ruling historic in that it recognizes the dynamics of intimate partner violence.
It's more than, let's say, a bruise. Rather, it is about the control and domination and the elimination of freedom.
While critics say existing laws should suffice and a new area of law isn't required, a number of provinces have said they welcome the ruling. BC and Quebec have recently revamped legislation around intimate partner violence and says the Supreme Court ruling recognizes what happens behind closed doors in many homes in Canada. Philip Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is the world this hour. For CBC News, I'm Neil Kumar.
In the Voting Rights Act. Congressman Cohen is part of a lawsuit that challenges the redistricting effort in court. Here's what he told reporters at the press conference where he announced his decision today.
The African American population is very much distressed by this ruling. And sometimes I'm amazed that the support I've got is so strong, and that a lot of people would have thought Caucasian could ever win. So that's something special about Memphis, and we're not going to have that. And I feel bad for my constituents because a lot of them come up to me regularly and say, as recently as today, African American and Caucasian don't quit. And I don't want to quit. I'm not a quitter. But these districts were drawn to beat me. They were drawn to defeat me. But Memphis is my home, and that's what I fight for, and I want to do it again. And if I get the chance, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'll be retiring from Congress and from public life.
There's been multiple states where Democrats haven't come out on the winning side of this redistricting issue, yours included, Virginia recently as well. How do you think Democrats going forward should respond here in the wake of all this redistricting losses?
Well, they have to vote at record numbers, and if there was an unbelievable registration effort among Democrats, and that perspective includes African Americans in a major way, there's a chance this could backfire on the Republicans. Donald Trump is a gangster. This is a gangster move to call the Texas governor and say, find me 5 new congressmen. That's not the way congressional districts go. This is the people's house. It's power, but it's definitely race 2 in the redistricting. 2 of the new districts have 29% black population. The third one is, I think, 31 or 32%. If you didn't consider race, and 2 of them were exactly 29%, that in itself, in their maps, militate against what they have alleged that it has nothing to do with race, but with policy and with party.
What does this mean for long term for the country?
This could affect the country for a long time. The House, and there's more seats in the South they're going to try to get in Georgia, in Florida. They're going to have an election in Alabama in August. They'll get a seat, I imagine, in Louisiana. If Republicans continue to hold the House, if Speaker Johnson continues to be he basically serves Donald Trump. He doesn't lead the House. We are not an equal branch of government and check and balance on the administration. We're a branch of the administration.
Democratic Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen speaking to reporters from his Washington office today. They're named after the king of the jungle, so in a way it's only fitting that lionfish have become kings of the reef in Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf waters. Like the noble land lion, they are beautiful and majestic. Unlike the noble land lion, they are ecological jerks. With their venomous spines and their sweet tooth for native fish, lionfish are an invasive species that threatens coral reefs and marine ecosystems. This weekend in Florida, over 100 divers will do what they can to curb the lionfish population. They'll be taking part in the Emerald Coast Open, which bills itself as the world's largest lionfish competition. Alex Fogg is a lionfish hunter and the founder of the Emerald Coast Open. We reached him in Destin, Florida.
Alex, help our listeners go underwater and experience what the divers this weekend are going to be experiencing as they come face to face with these lionfish.
I mean, every time you go diving, you never know what to expect. Odds are you're going to have pretty good visibility. You'll get down to a reef, whether it be a large shipwreck or a structure that was specifically placed there to be an artificial reef, or in some cases you're diving a natural limestone outcropping, crawling with life. I mean, there's a lot of color down there, especially if you have a light with you. But when you're down there and you're seeing all this life, there's always lionfish, and lionfish are not supposed to be here. They stick out like a sore thumb. And I remember the first time I ever saw one, it was pretty eye-opening, and when I started to learn a little bit more about their impacts, it was bad.
Yeah, and how do you protect yourself down there?
Yeah. So fortunately, lionfish aren't aggressive, so you don't have to worry about going down there and having a lionfish attack you. They essentially just sit there on the reef. But when you are harvesting them, you want to avoid those venomous spines that are on their back and on their underside. So there's actually a device called a zookeeper. It's essentially a PVC tube with a funnel on it, and when you spear the fish, you can put it into this device, and when you retrieve your spear, it strips the fish off into that device, and you never have to come in contact with it. This is by far the safest and most efficient way to get these fish.
And beyond that tool, what are your techniques and your tips for those, not only to find them, but to catch them?
Yeah, well, finding them, the good news is, I mean, they stick out like a sore thumb, like I mentioned. They're sitting out there in the open.
They're not
you get down there,
camouflaged,
you know exactly what it is when you get down there. There's no confusing them with other fish. But harvesting them, I guess, fortunately, they don't swim away from you because they don't really fear anything. They don't have those natural predators like they have maybe in their native range over in the Indo-Pacific. So you as a diver can get, just a few feet away, line up your shot and take the shot and, efficiently harvest that fish. So it's not a very difficult fish to harvest. You just have to get down there.
And how many do you think might be harvested and removed this weekend? Is there a magic number you and the divers want to hit?
As many as possible. But the magic number, I don't really have a good answer there, but historically we're over 10,000 fish per year. This year, during the 2 days, I'm expecting probably closer to 20,000, just because the weather is so good and everybody is able to make it out there and go to their favorite spot.
How many divers are we talking about?
We have right around 130 divers participating in this year's event. And of those 130, probably 100 of them are making it out. And it's, again, with the weather the way it is, there's no excuse not to make it out.
Yeah. How long are they out there for?
The rules of the tournament allow you to start diving at sunrise, and then you have to be done by sunset. Some folks go out with just a couple tanks, they're done by lunch, but then there's others who are doing an entire day of diving today and an entire day of diving tomorrow and are exhausted little puppies when they come in on Sunday.
And the prizes?
That's what's really drawing a lot of the folks to this event. So we have around $150,000 worth of cash and prizes that we give to the divers that are harvesting these fish. We reward them for most lionfish, we reward them for biggest, and we also reward them for smallest lionfish. So you don't have to go out there and shoot a couple thousand lionfish if you don't want to. You can go and shoot one big one and one small one and be, in the money.
What are the smallest and largest you've seen so far?
So the largest one, the world record, is 485 millimeters. And the smallest one that I've seen is about 30 millimeters. There's quite a range there. For this tournament, I'm expecting we'll probably be, very close to that upper range and very close to that lower range. There's, certainly a variety of sizes that come in.
And those tens of thousands of fish, if you do hit that number, what do you do with them once they're harvested?
Yeah, that's a great question. So once all the lionfish come in and we have counted them and measured them all, we actually work with local seafood markets and restaurants to allow the divers to sell their catch to those places so they get served to the public. And that's, mostly for the larger fish. So about half of the fish go to the market. The other half, we freeze in about 2-3 kilo blocks and distribute them to schools around the country for them to do education programs with. So they do dissections instead of dissecting a pig or something else. They're dissecting lionfish.
Have you dissected a lionfish?
I've dissected a lot of lionfish. That was part of my graduate research. I dream about them.
Well, how would you describe that experience?
I mean, I could do it in my sleep, but every time you open them up and you open up their gut, their stomach, they have something different every time. They're a generalist predator, so if it can fit in their mouth, they're gonna eat it. So you see your lobsters, you see your snappers, you see those fish that you like to eat. It's eye-opening because you don't want a species that's here kind of out of control preying on these fish that are so important to not only the industry, but also my dinner plate.
And have you eaten them as well yourself?
Oh, lionfish? Oh my gosh, yeah. I've had it just about every possible way. Have you ever seen Forrest Gump and he's talking about all the ways to eat shrimp? I think you could eat lionfish even more.
What does it taste like? How would you describe it?
So lionfish is a really mild fish, so it takes on the flavor of whatever you're cooking it in. So it's not like other invasive species where you have to, put so much salt and blackening on it that you don't even know what you're eating. It can be served as plain sushi. It could be served as a grilled piece or on a taco or in a sandwich. There's really no wrong way to do it. But I think my favorite way is in ceviche.
Lionfish ceviche. What goes into it? Tell me.
So the lionfish, of course, but then the lionfish is cooked in citrus, so lime juice and lemon juice, and then you mix in really whatever other fresh vegetables you like. So red onion, green pepper, garlic, a little bit of everything, and then you dip a chip in it, you're good to go.
Alex, a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That was Alex Fogg, a lionfish hunter and founder of the Emerald Coast Open. We reached him in Destin, Florida. James Tallarico is hoping to become the first Texas Democrat to win election to the U.S. Senate since 1988. And this Tuesday, he pulled a classic campaign publicity stunt, making a surprise stop at an Austin taqueria with former President Barack Obama. Now, sampling a local delicacy on the campaign trail is a familiar move, designed to dial up the folksy charm. But it is fraught with political peril. Mitt Romney was mocked for committing the faux pas of calling a hoagie a sub at a Wawa convenience store in Pennsylvania. Everyman John Kerry asking for Swiss cheese on a cheesesteak was called a crime against humanity, and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio shook the city to its very core when he ate a pizza slice with a knife and fork. And now, James Tallarico's taco order is coming under scrutiny. He ordered 2 egg, cheese, and potato tacos at their afternoon stop, which some Texans consider both ill-timed and insufficiently meaty, or at least that's the spin from Republicans. We reached Texas Monthly's tacos editor, Jose Ralat, in Austin.
Jose, you are one of the top taco journalists in your state. What's your verdict here about Tallarico's order?
I actually think it's quite boring. It is a standard order that is available at any restaurant that sells breakfast tacos.
Does it change how you think about a politician?
No, not at all. So the order is potato, egg, and cheese, and I consider that the litmus taco, because if a place can make a perfect potato, then they can make everything else.
Okay, so maybe that might have something to do with the decision. A lot is being made of not just the contents of the order, but the timing, the 2 p.m. breakfast taco. What does that mean to you? Does that bother you?
No. Here in Austin, breakfast tacos are served around the clock.
And Tallarico is there with Barack Obama, the former U.S. president. Were you surprised to see this bubble up into a bigger story?
Yes, because the choice of restaurants is kind of neutral territory. It's not a controversial choice. That was confusing, but what wasn't confusing was the opposition's response questioning masculinity.
What kinds of things have you seen on that front?
Well, Tallarico is not a beef-loving Texan. I think that's ridiculous. I think that we should be able to eat what we want to eat, and there is nothing remarkable about this order.
And